Okay, we're live now.
Yeah.
So let's try again and see if we still have audio. Good evening, Elliot.
Good evening, Dereck. How are you?
I'm okay. I think it's much better now.
Indeed, yeah.
I don't know what happened there. I think we're under attack. We were under a cyber terrorist attack.
I'm sure they are trying to exercise their newly found rights.
Hopefully we're still okay because it's still in the draft phase. But unfortunately, I don't know whether, did you hear with the one, I think, is it Mawari, the one from the spokesperson for ZimPF?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Who was charged.
Yes.
For a tweet.
Not for a tweet, for a retweet.
For a retweet. For retweeting something which was said against the professor.
Yes.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay, anyway, viewers, my name is Dereck Tafuma of DereckTafuma.com. I've got Elliot today. We are going to discuss the Zimbabwe draft computer crime and cybercrime bill, okay, which the government is trying to put into law. To start with, I thought maybe we could start by looking at some of the bills which have become law in the last decade or so. The first one is called IPA, Access to Information and Protection of Privacy Act, which is law in Zimbabwe. It was enacted to oversee how the print and electronic media operated in the country. It was enacted in 2002 by a ZANU-PF dominated parliament. The law has a provision for a Media and Information Commission, MIC, a body whose first chairman was Tafuma Mahoso. Since it was introduced, foreign news organizations have been banned from reporting in Zimbabwe, while some newspapers in Zimbabwe have been shut down. Professor Jonathan Moyo and Patrick Chinamasa are credited with writing this piece of legislation. Okay, so that's the first one, that's IPA. And then we had POSA, Public Order and Security Act. It's a piece of legislation introduced in Zimbabwe in 2002. It was, again, by ZANU-PF dominated parliament. The act was amended in 2007. The chief architects, again, are said to be Jonathan Moyo and Patrick Chinamasa. Many regard POSA as an act that helped the president, Robert Mugabe, to consolidate his power. The law gave untold powers to the police, the Zimbabwe Republic Police, ZRP. And then we've got other bills as well besides the bill that we're going to discuss, the computer crime and cybercrime bill. There is the data protection bill. There is the electronic transaction and electronic commerce bill. And also we've had, sorry, that was my Siri was deactivated. I think I said something like, hey Siri. I hope it doesn't go again. Anyway, we've got that. And then another precedent to what we're going to discuss today is that in the last few days or the last few weeks, the government has been talking of social media abuse and warning people against abusing social media, whatever that means. It's in light of the hashtag movement, which has seen hashtags like this flag, Tajamuka, BBID, or Bring Back Itai Dzamara. Besides that, elsewhere in Africa, we've seen governments also reacting to the use of social media by citizens. Such countries as Burundi, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and Uganda, the governments have clamped down on social media use by citizens. Also in Zimbabwe, a few weeks ago when there was a call for a shutdown of the country. On the morning of the shutdown, there was no access to WhatsApp. So the government had tampered with I think they jammed the WhatsApp signals. Later during the day, the signals came back up. Then we've got also things like cyberbullying that we can worry about in terms of the abuse of computers, pornography, piracy of music, which I think is quite big in Zimbabwe. There is a lot of music piracy, but a lot of people are not aware that they are committing a crime. So that is the precedent to what we want to talk about. But obviously, there is then the draft bill. How do you want to react? Do you want to start with the draft, or do you want to comment on IPA and POSA? Because I think if you look at IPA and then POSA and then this bill, which has come, the Computer Crime and Cybercrime Bill, you can see that there is a government is reacting to what the citizens, how the citizens are organizing themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, I think firstly, I'll comment on POSA and IPA. It might be of interest to our viewers that IPA and POSA have now been superseded by the new constitution of 2018. However, the government is still using them illegally. This is why we still have over 75% of the new laws not harmonized, and the government is giving an excuse that they don't have money to harmonize the new constitution with the old laws.
Okay.
The fact of the matter is that they are benefiting from misusing the old laws against peaceful demonstrators, against the opposition and innocent civilians.
In other words, they are using their numbers in parliament to take advantage of being the incumbent.
Yeah.
So they can take as long as they want.
But I need also to remind the government that when they introduced POSA and IPA in 2002, it didn't stop people from demanding to exercise their right. Neither did it stop people from willingly violating it in a combative manner. What normally happens in every institution where the government of people in power try to impose themselves against innocent people, it always ricochets back and people fight back. We've seen this during the apartheid regime. We've seen this even during the liberation struggle in Zimbabwe. The 1970s, against the Smith regime, Smith enacted so many laws to try to suppress the wills of the people. But at the end, it didn't work. And here is Robert Mugabe and ZANU-PF. They know that very well. Same has been done in various countries in Africa and in elsewhere.
Yeah.
But the fact remains that such type of oppressive laws, their days are numbered, and people will still fight them back and will rebel. So yes, although ZANU-PF have been using POSA to curtail people's freedom, as it became so repressive in such a way that you could only be allowed to speak to the public upon applying to the same government and approved by the police, cleared by the police. And if you try to talk to any group of people more than 5 without applying from the police, then you would be arrested and incarcerated. And he didn't make any distinction whether those 5 people, over 5 people, they are your brothers and sisters. So it was an open check for the government.
Yeah.
And did not even exonerate even churches. So if they want to pounce on you and you are more than 5 in a church, they could do the same. So yes.
So now what is happening now is, so instead of when people want to organize something, Okay, so before WhatsApp and other social media platforms, people could not organize themselves without meeting physically. So that law, it worked because people had to meet in order to organize. But now with WhatsApp, they can organize and then meet on a scheduled date after organizing themselves on WhatsApp and other social media platforms.
Yeah,
so maybe this law is because they know that maybe IPA and POSA will soon be made derelict. This cybercrime law is coming into effect in order to curtail the people organizing themselves on social media. It's got nothing to do with cyber criminology.
Yeah, I think first and foremost, I need to quote Kasukuwere, because Kasukuwere sometimes this week did preempt the reason why they are fast tracking the bill. And I think our viewers there needed to understand that it has nothing to do with protecting the economy of the country. It has nothing to do with protecting security of the country. It is something to do with protecting a party, a political party, ZANU-PF, and its leader from dissenting voices. I want to quote word by word, because that's what he said, and this is not me rephrasing. Quote, "We are not going to give you free rein to undermine the party and president the way that you are doing." Close quote. And this was ZANU-PF National Political Commissar Xavier Kasukuwere at a rally. He went on to say, quote, "We are going to fight you and we are going to stop you," said Kasukuwere. So if you look at it, we are not going to let you attack the party. So you can see that the intention of the computer and cyber crime bill is a malicious intention to suppress the views of innocent civilians against the machinery of ZANU-PF and Mugabe. So the first thing is it right that a law be enacted specifically to protect a political party? Not to protect citizens, not to protect a government, to protect the political party. That's not acceptable.
Yes, which is what I was saying. If you look at IPA and POSA and now this new Cybercrime Act, you can see that the common denominator here is that the government is trying to protect itself from the citizens.
Oh yeah. It's not the government trying to protect itself. It's the ZANU-PF trying to protect itself.
Yes, because there's a clear distinction between government, which has been bled.
Yeah, but ZANU-PF want unfortunately, ZANU-PF wants the Zimbabweans to believe that the government is the ZANU-PF and ZANU-PF is the government, which is wrong. Because political parties come and go, the government will remain and execute government work and government laws and enforce government laws. So there should be a distinction, and ZANU-PF has never given the people of Zimbabwe that chance to have that distinction.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's just allow me to do a summary of major issues that I've picked up from the draft bill, and then we'll discuss from there. There's an emphasis on access of information, interfering with information of either local government, a national institution. We can understand that, okay? Even in various countries, almost all countries, unauthorized access of information is a crime. Yeah. Even here in the UK, for example, the Computer Misuse Act of 1999 is there, but that is to protect the the institutions, the systems that run the institutions, which is acceptable. And then the next thing was they are targeting, you could tell that the bill, they are targeting people who are using social media, as you have said earlier on. The WhatsApp, Facebook, LinkedIn, well, there are various conduit of social media. But then the government was also caught with their pens down in the sense that they to redefine. If I send you an email today, Dereck, could that constitute a violation of the law? Would that be breaking a law? If I update my brother in Zimbabwe of what is happening, okay? They did make a definition to say sending multiple electronic mail messages, email or instant messaging to more than 1,000 people is a crime.
Okay.
Right? The next question is, how does the government calculate up to 1,000? Okay. They are not in the optic fiber counting the data packages going between individuals. Right? But then they go further to say they would want to force the service providers. So this time the service providers becomes also the police bodies of our consumption, of our usage of information, which is very wrong. And I can see that there are better lines there. I mean,
I can understand if, for example, if the messaging threatened national security, and like the case which happened with Apple, and the FBI, where Apple refused to give the FBI, they refused to give them a password into the mobile phone of an offender.
Yeah.
In which case, the Apple, okay, was refusing to give the government access to one mobile phone. Correct. Because giving access to one mobile phone would mean that in future, the government could have access to, because that law would give precedent to future conduct, to how they handle such cases, in which case the government would have access to countless numbers of other people.
Oh, indeed, yeah. So if you look at these, it's a very complicated bill, which I don't think it was thought through in their drafting. There are so many gray areas. There are so many loopholes which can be challenged in a court of law. I also was looking at when they say the crime includes deleting. So you are not allowed even to delete your own information, right? So if they think that by deleting your own information, you are trying to conceal something, you can be arrested. But how are they going to?
But if you receive pornographic material and you want to get rid of it, because you don't want it on your device.
And he said this includes the deleting, concealing, and mutilating information. And I was like, hang on.
But whose information is it? If it's information.
There's no word like mutilating in computer, the jargon. You don't mutilate data.
Yeah.
You don't mutilate information. So there's all those loopholes and gray areas which people can challenge. And then further, it says the authorities can seize the devices that have been used to commit crime. Okay? That's besides the fines and jail sentences. And it includes, again, computers, laptops, mobile phones, and it includes also programs, okay? Which again stifles innovation. So if you write a program that is likely, say if you write a program that is likely to facilitate a sharing of information, that is illegal. But if you look at USA today, is what it is because of innovation, isn't it? WhatsApp is a US company. YouTube is a US company. Facebook is a US. The moment you start saying, well, we are going to ban any even innovation of a program that is intended to share information, that doesn't, that language, it flies in the face of modernity.
Yes.
It's a clash of modernity and the prehistorical thinking of ZANU-PF.
And it also affects the economy, because if you look at Facebook and WhatsApp and all these companies that have sprung up from Silicon Valley,
yes,
what you will note is that they are billion-dollar companies.
Yes.
And they have contributed immensely because those guys are employing a lot of people.
Yeah.
So they've actually contributed to the economy of the and they are not only their services are not only being used in America.
Yeah.
They are being used in almost every part of the world except maybe China, which is trying to which blocks Google and Facebook and other social media platforms. But in terms of the rest of the world, America is making a lot of money just by providing these services to the rest of the world.
We are a global village, and technology has been driving both economies of scale and also the sharing of ideas globally. And Zimbabwe cannot be an island. Yeah, they are not banning systems and programs that were invented in Zimbabwe. These are global conduit of information sharing. The WhatsApp, YouTube, etc. Every country is using them. But here ZANU-PF is basically because they were used to the use of monopoly of information for handling propaganda, using the Herald, using the ZBC, Zimbabwe Broadcasting Television.
Yeah, ZTV.
Yeah, to muscle in and channel propaganda on a day-to-day basis to Zimbabweans. But they don't have that monopoly anymore because of technology.
Yeah, and if you look at it, the monopoly that they, by introducing IPA, access to information, they wanted to protect the monopoly by protecting ZBC and ZTV and print media.
Yeah.
Then when they introduced POSA, they wanted to have monopoly on gathering. So when they call for a rally, that's the only time people will gather.
Yes.
And not at any other time. And then now with this new bill, they are trying to control social media.
Yes.
Because these platforms, they cannot control the platform, but they can control the people using the platform or the information that is being sent on the platforms. Yeah. Hence this bill which they are trying to put into an act of law.
And I looked at it as well to say, okay, fine. The users of the social media are not necessarily in Harare or in Bulawayo, where they've got maybe concentration of police officers and CID, CIOs. There are over 4 million Zimbabweans who are outside the country. Okay? And there's communication. It's now a global village, as I've said before.
Yeah.
How are they going to police and how are they going to prosecute? And I got shocked to say they are saying, even if you are outside Zimbabwe, they will prosecute you and file a lawsuit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
An extradition.
yeah, a lawsuit in that particular country so that you can be extradited to Zimbabwe. Whether you are a Zimbabwean citizen or a dual citizen, or, and that became a shock to me, or you are not a Zimbabwean at all.
Okay.
So what?
That means that they want to police the whole world now.
Indeed. So that that clause, I said, hang on. Okay. So they can actually, if a British person, or it's a British citizen or an American citizen or an Australian citizen, is discussing or sending messages of updates of what is happening in Zimbabwe, the government of Zimbabwe can then seek extradition for that person to come to be sent back to Zimbabwe. On what ground?
We've got two viewers now. Welcome to the show, viewers. We are discussing the Computer Crime and Cyber Crime Bill, which the Zimbabwe government is trying to put into an act of law. So far, we've looked at comparisons with IPA and POSA, and also we've looked at partly at this bill. And Elliot, do you want to comment on the timing of this bill? I mean, this bill has been in the works for quite some time. Indeed. But there seems to be some urgency from government to push it through. You know, like the accelerated land reform program.
Yeah, I think if you look at recent events where the citizens have rediscovered a voice through social media, and they're able to vent their anger against the government, and information is now at the fingertips. All of a sudden, you know, it's no longer the privilege of herald journalists to take photos and distribute and censor them. So people can take photos, take videos of what is happening, the brutality of the government, and share them, and people can then make informed decisions based on information sharing. And that is scaring the government to the bone. And this
recent videos where they were showing police brutality, do you think that could have also contributed to this urgency?
Indeed, that's one of them. And various incidents where the police have been heavy-handed against innocent civilians, where information was easily shareable across the entire globe, and the whole world were able to see how brutal the government is, and they are trying to suppress that. And this is why they want to fast track this bill to curtail the freedom of Zimbabweans to express, which is enshrined in the new constitution. Unfortunately, again, maybe I might need to draw up now is another clause in this draft where it says they want to harmonize it. And how they are going to harmonize it, they're going to delete section 163 to 168 of the new constitution.
Okay, and what is in those two? I mean, in that range of clause from the
constitution. The constitution gives the citizens the right of expression, including the right of communication.
And they want to delete that.
Indeed. So they want to amend. Even in this one, they didn't say amend. They said deleting. So even the terminology being used, but it also gives so much power to the minister and the authority. It actually further says that the minister or the authority empowered to seize or to investigate are not liable to any damage to any telecommunication equipment during the investigation. So they already exonerated themselves from any criminal injury, having caused either to you, the citizen, or even to the service provider themselves. And I don't know how that can be enforceable, and I don't know how Zimbabweans can accept that. And I see a very serious confrontation. And it says, again, that crime carries 3 years in jail. And level 8 fine, whatever level 8 fine is, or both. And then there is another clause that actually attracts a heavier sentence: cyber harassment.
Okay.
So, if your tweets or your WhatsApp message is deemed to cause self-distress to any individual, that then could be construed as cyber harassment, and it attracts a sentence of 5 years, or a level 10 fine, or both. And you can see that, just link this to the statement by Kasukuere, that we cannot allow you a free rein to undermine the party and the president. So in other words, they are trying to draw this cyber harassment to say, right, once this becomes law, if you continue harassing the president or ZANU-PF, then that will be construed as a cyber harassment, 5 years in jail.
But they are able to harass the whole country through their own media, through the Herald.
Oh yes, of course. So this is where we are saying, I see more people going to jail, not because of choice, but because it is not acceptable, and it's in violation of their rights to express themselves. It also contravenes the very section that protects your right to expression and your right to communicate, which they are saying, don't worry, we are going to delete it.
It's interesting that they use the terms they are using. Some of them are quite heavy. They'll use terms like cyber terrorism.
Yes.
Cyber terrorism. I mean, that's, if you look at Zimbabwe, for example, our infrastructure is not heavily dependent on computer networks. So in order for you to carry out a cyber terrorist attack on Zimbabwe, you'd have to disable, for example, let's say we had a nuclear weapon.
Yeah.
And you could bypass the codes.
Yeah.
And tamper with it.
Yeah.
Or compromise it. But we don't have those. We don't have the computer systems in Zimbabwe that can be compromised.
No. And most of the
terrorist attack.
Yeah. And most of the cases, you find those are state-sponsored. So they are state-sponsored hackers for espionage, for classified information, etc. None of that has been the target of Zimbabweans. Zimbabweans are saying enough is enough. This government has failed. We need a government that is accountable, a government that actually turn around the economy for the benefit of everybody.
Yeah.
Sharing such information cannot be said to be criminal. So this is, and the other type of cybercrime, you get a hacktivist who hacks corporates companies, either for information in terms of copyrights, in terms of receipts, etc., etc. And that is not the case for Zimbabweans. Then you get cyber criminal hackers who steal passwords, information from the bank, so that they can use that to steal money and money laundering, etc. And that's
I can understand that. I can understand that part in terms of the fact that most of the money is being handled via EcoCash, for example. So I mean, there's a likelihood that hackers will target, mobile money if they were going. Because if you look at Zimbabwe, for example, I think about 40% of the communication which is taking place is on WhatsApp alone. Just WhatsApp is taking up 40% of all the mobile communications. And then you've got EcoCash, which is handling quite a significant chunk of money. It's taking it away from the banking system. So I can understand if there's to be a law to protect the citizens from such, but it looks like this law it's not to protect citizens, but it's to stifle citizens expressing themselves.
I mean, it's to send terror. If the truth be said, it's the government which is the terrorist here, trying to instill terror in its own people. It's the government, and in the bill there, you find there's no mention of, I don't know whether they know it or not, but it's not all hackers are bad hackers. There are actually ethical hackers which are allowed.
Yes, I mean, some of the people that carry out, some of the hackers are actually then employed by big companies to work for them. So that they redirect, because those guys, they know what they're doing, they're talented. So why not take that talent? It's like now the people of Zimbabwe are speaking, they're saying enough is enough. Why can the government not harness that that momentum? They could harness it, because these people are obviously, they are very intelligent people. And we've seen graduates playing football in their gowns, just to show the government that we could be, instead of playing football, we could be doing something else. If we were employed, we could be doing something else. If we had the resources, if we're supported by government, we could be starting companies and stuff like that. So why not look at social media and say, how can government use social media to help citizens to solve problems? So instead of doing that, they want to stifle free expression. They want to stifle people talking. But it's through talking that problems are eventually solved.
Correct. I mean, if you look at the ethical hackers are actually employed by banks, big institutions. These are people who are employed to hack, to try to hack into the system, so that if there are any loopholes, they
will address them. Instead of waiting for an actual hacker, you can have an ethical hacker do the hacking. And then, but not compromise the system, but just to show that the system can be compromised.
We'll be able to tell you about the bug that, within the system there's this bug. In the long run, we can be hacked, our system can be hacked. And then you improve your system based on that. But again, we are being philosophical. This is not the Zimbabwean approach. What we are saying is, the government can actually use the social media to listen to the concerns of the citizens. And most of the people are not just saying Mugabe must go. They're actually articulating why he must go, which areas he has failed, which areas some people failed. If the government is sincere, it will actually look at all those, tabulate and synthesize them, and then come to the drawing table to say, hang on, there are good points coming from citizens here.
And it's for free. I mean, it's free information. People are talking. It's free information. If they take it, embrace that information,
yes,
and then report back. I think one of the things that I've noticed is when the government is confronted with something new, like social media, it will take them time to respond, and normally they'll respond with a bill.
Indeed, but look at it. That's not the way to go in this modern global world of technology, because we need to harness technology to improve our efficiency economically, socially, and politically. So what the government could do is even to set up a desk where they can actually data mine, so they can do the data mining of information coming from all the suggestions being put across in the social media by its own people, and try to see which are those policies that they can actually incorporate and which are those that they can't. Because obviously people are not just, recklessly sort of sending information that is malicious. They are articulating their views, their issues, their experience. Some are sharing their experience.
Yes, I've always said that part of the problem that we have is that the government has stifled, the normal channel, the normal platforms where people should actually go and hear their views, have their input, have the ministers listen to them, members of parliament, use parliament as a place where fruitful debates are carried out, use the newspapers, the Herald and the ZTV, use them, to encourage debate where government could actually harness information from there, crowdsource information from there. But instead of doing that, they've been trying to take control of the media. They've tried to take control of how people gather. They want to control how people are gathering, hence POSA and IPA. And now, instead of allowing citizens to interact on social media and also to advise government for free, because people are giving this information for free. They are not charging them. Some of this information they are getting from the citizens, they would have to be paying these companies which they can consult, consultancy companies. They could be paying a lot of money to consultancy companies, but they are getting this free information. And instead of embracing that information, they come up with a bill. The bill, in principle, is not a bad idea, but the problem is that it, instead of targeting crimes that are normally committed, but people are now using computers to commit crime, they are looking at freedom of speech as a crime.
And this is where we are saying, and as I alluded to earlier on, that curtailing people's freedom of expression actually violates Part 2, Section 4, subsection 18 of the new Constitution, which actually defines the right to freedom of expression. Subsection 1, that includes freedom to seek, receive, and communicates ideas and other information. It actually says in other information. So we are all covered by the very constitution that Zimbabweans voted 96% in 2013, which is ZANU-PF is refusing to harmonize because they think, well, we don't have money. But they now have got money to introduce a new bill to violate the constitution that is already there.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the questions I was going to ask is if this new bill is not violating the existing constitution.
Mm.
So it seems they are violating the new constitution with this bill.
Oh yes, they are. And as I said, that for some reason, and you can tell that the person who did this drafting, there's no clue about the law.
Mm.
Even certain terminologies that were being used to say, if you mutilate information, how do you mutilate information? You
Yeah.
know, and they say we are going to they said we are going to amend the Principal Act in number 4, 2012, which is the Postal and Telecommunication Act,
Yeah.
and fuse it with the Criminal Law Codification and Reform Act. That's the one which says, undermining the authority of the president.
Mm.
They are bringing it again. They're saying we are fusing it. They are fusing this computer and the cyber crime bill with the Criminal Law and Codification and Reform Act, and they are putting this one under the Principal Act number 4 of 2012, Postal and Telecommunication Act, and they are saying we will. They've already find a space where they will put this one under Chapter 9, subsection 23.
Mm.
They are going to delete 163 to 168.
Just like that.
Yes, that's it. That's the super.
One of the concerns that I have, I'm concerned about the fact that instead of focusing on how we can resolve economic issues, even using mobile technology, because let's face it, Africa is a mobile, well, other countries, I mean, companies are trying to build mobile first websites and all that.
Yes.
But Africa, instead of being a mobile first country, continent, it's actually a mobile only continent.
Oh, yes, yes.
Because most of the penetration of mobile technology in Africa is the fastest if you consider any other continent around the world.
Yeah,
so
yes.
Africa we could be focusing on how we can use these technologies to drive economic growth and development. We could be looking at how we can use them as drivers of economic growth and development. But instead of doing that, we are focusing on stifling that very freedom, okay, which as we have said before, which have actually helped countries like America to encourage people like Mark Zuckerberg to come up with the application. I know they bought WhatsApp, but he came up with the Facebook platform, and these are big companies now. I mean, if you look at Apple, if you look at Google, those companies basically they are technology companies.
Yes.
And they've done quite a lot. That at one point, I think Apple had more money than the U.S. government itself.
Yeah.
So they are contributing immensely to the economy, and we could be. I mean, we don't have to come up with a new technology in order to create a new wealth. We could still use the existing platforms, okay, which have been engineered in America. Use them in order to come up with innovative ways of creating capital.
Oh yes, yeah. I mean, if you look at the countries that are doing well, the G20, for example, with the biggest economies in the world, they have got companies that are solely generating billions of turnover per year, based specifically on technology alone. Be it on mobile phones, be it on computers, etc. Well, at the moment, whatever you can do on a computer, you can do it on a smartphone.
Yes.
And here is our government, ZANU-PF government, it is going to be ruthless in confiscating mobile phones that communicate information that is deemed to be anti-government and anti-Robert Mugabe.
Yeah,
they are looking at one area of political survival. But the first question that they must ask themselves is, why is it people are venting their anger against ZANU-PF, against Robert Mugabe? That is what they need to correct.
Yes.
You know, not to shut down technology because they've no answers. No, if you don't have answers, then you must move out. You know, so here is a government that is chasing its own shadows, and all the time they're trying to chase their own shadows. They must engage with the people of Zimbabwe, the citizens. Zimbabweans, you know, at the moment, Zimbabwe has got the highest literacy rate in Africa. We've got the best brains in Africa. But unfortunately, the leaders carrying the brains today are the worst in Africa. And this is where we are. And if you look at UK, for example, GDP for UK, 4.2 trillion. GDP for the whole of Africa aggregate, 2 trillion.
1 point. Is it now 2? The last I heard it was 1 point something, 1.9.
2 trillion. And all 57 countries, all 54 countries, sorry, you know, 2 trillion. But most of those countries that are doing very well, Rwanda, for example, it's all about technology.
Yes, I think Rwanda has got the most number of, I think, Wi-Fi spots.
Indeed.
Yeah.
The highest computer penetration, mobile penetration in the whole lot of Africa. Every student from creche to primary to university have got a laptop with Wi-Fi, everybody. Registration of a companies, they are all done online. It takes less
on your mobile phone
to register a company in Rwanda. You don't even go to the office, government offices. Everything is online. That's technology. They've not shut down WhatsApp. They've not shut down Facebook. They're using it. And this is the way to go. But unfortunately, we've got a government which want to live a prehistorical type of a regime, totally marooned.
Yes, I think for them it has always been about political survival. So anything which is going to threaten that political survival, they come down heavy on it, and they always try to use the law, but they always come up with very shoddy bills which become law, but the law is basically being targeted at the opposition or anyone who opposes the government.
But the problem with doing that, with enacting laws by impulse, is that you don't forget that tomorrow you'll be out of power. The same law can be used against you. And it's the very people who then cry foul. But we are not, advocating that any new government that comes into being should use these draconian laws. No.
But it takes some time before they are repealed.
Yeah, some people might be tempted to say, well, let them test their own medicine. And it becomes a ripple effect of an eye for an eye. But that's not what we want.
I think that's exactly the reason why they cannot leave office, because they know all the laws that they've enacted can be used against them. I
can't believe that Kasukuwere would say we can't leave you to lambast our president and our party like this. So we are going to enact this bill. You know, I would understand if you say you're putting the country at risk, right? They can decide to whatever other communication that they've intercepted that put the country at risk.
What I would have wanted him to say was, we are enacting this bill because we want to protect Zimbabwe's economy from outside cyber terrorists who are threatening to shut down our industries, to steal our company information.
Yeah.
Putting this law so that the country's economy can grow.
Yeah.
But there's nothing. It's got nothing to do with the economy.
Yeah, I think I need to read this again so that our viewers get the words that Kasukuwere uttered at a recent rally this week in favor of the Computer and Cybercrime Bill. In quotation marks, we are not going to give you free rein to undermine the party and the president the way that you are doing. Close quote. And this is the ZANU-PF National Political Commissar, Xavier Kasukuwere, at a rally. He went further. Quote, we are going to fight you and we are going to stop you. Close quote.
With an act.
Yes. And this is the Computer and Cybercrime Bill.
And we know that is going to go through because they've done the same with IPA, they've done the same with POSA.
Oh, yeah.
They've used their majority, or should I say abused their majority in parliament.
Oh, yes.
To enact laws which are repressive.
And already, here is a cabinet minister, a senior cabinet minister, high-ranking official of ZANU-PF, who is actually declaring that we are going to fight you and we are going to stop you.
Should they be charged with the same law that is enacting?
So they are already declaring war on their own citizens. And we are not going to give you free rein to undermine the party and the president.
Interesting.
So yes, look at it. It actually flies at the voice of reason as to that this government, which is presiding over the West economic regime in Southern Africa, in the living memory, would give priority to curtailing people's freedom in terms of expression, rather than coming up with innovation, coming up with solutions to turn around the economy, coming up with solutions to give the people of Zimbabwe the 2.2 million jobs that they promised.
Yeah, and also considering the fact that we've got a high literacy rate in Zimbabwe, this is the opportunity to allow people to, because that information, like a lot of people are educated, but if you're not going to use that education in a practical manner, you are as good as you are not educated.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So it takes, and it's not about what you learned in school. It's not about what you learned in college. It's about maybe using these new technologies like WhatsApp, like Facebook, like Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat. It's using these platforms to create new innovations, which can also create new wealth, new capital.
Yeah, and for your information,
so that education we could be using it, but in new ways, because what we were taught is no longer relevant.
Correct. For your information, that bill also includes a talk shows like this one on YouTube, where we are trying to educate the government, the same government.
Yeah.
We are trying to articulate the issues. Okay. Oh, they want that to be a monopoly of the Herald, of the ZTV. We can't have a situation like that.
Yeah, but I mean that's like 19th century thinking, isn't it?
Yeah, and they said they are going to come
in 19th and 20th century, but those days are over.
And the
government like Germany's Hitler with Goebbels, who had monopoly over information. But in this new age, no one has monopoly over information.
Oh, yes. I mean, the problem is you find who owns the WW, out there, the web. Who owns the web? Nobody at the moment. It's billions and trillions of information ready for anybody to harvest and mine and use it for competitive edge. Rather than fighting the information, use it, because you will not win it. Because every minute, new information, new technology is being innovated, is being introduced in the public media, and all you can do is to deploy experts that actually make use of it and use that information for your own competitive advantage.
Yes.
Not to fight it, because you will not win.
And so, something just came to mind. Apparently, they also want to ban the sale of bundles. Like how people buy bundles for WhatsApp and Facebook and Twitter.
Okay.
Apparently, they want to ban those bundles so that it's more difficult for people to use these platforms.
Yeah, that's the desperation at its worst.
I mean, with 40% usage of WhatsApp alone constitute 40% usage.
But if you look at if you look at this government, it's failing to understand that for every bundle being sold, they're also collecting taxes.
Yes.
So there's a revenue generation there. And Econet, as a business, is paying corporate tax to the country. They don't look at that.
They can afford that corporate tax because of the packages that they offer, such as
Indeed. Because some of these things, you don't have to look at them in isolation. An economy, includes whatever you produce, the services you offer, and all that is an aggregate for GDP. But if you start saying, we're going to shut down these services, you're also shooting yourself in terms of aggregate GDP that country can realize. And that will hit hard on pockets, on the functioning of the country and the government. And the government doesn't see this one. They look at it from one angle of protecting their political survival, when there's nothing to survive for.
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we've covered most of the things that we wanted to cover. Are there any closing statements? We normally close by, what advice would you give? I think people also need advice on what to do now. Yeah. I think what I would advise them is, you can continue using social media the way you've been using it. The only thing I would say is just avoid situations where you are compromising yourself by maybe using bad language and stuff like that. But in terms of just using social media normally the way you've been using it, you can still do that, because this is just a bill. It's not yet an act of law, and I don't think you can be arrested for anything which has happened before it becomes law. Would you like to do the same, give advice to people or to the government?
Indeed. I'll start by giving advice to the government. I think they would do themselves a favor if they follow our talk show, because we talk freely, we articulate the issues based on what we are receiving from the people of Zimbabwe. They can use this as an embodiment of knowledge, which they can incorporate in their policies for service delivery, for governance issues. So it's no point banning the voice of reason. Might as well harvest it. That's my advice to the government of Zimbabwe. My advice to our fellow Zimbabweans is that, yes, we have looked at the draft. the bill. It's, as I've said again, I'm not going to repeat what Kaskwere has been saying. You can see that it is to protect ZANU-PF and to protect Mugabe, the president of Zimbabwe, and as head of ZANU-PF party. We cannot have a bill or a law which is enacted specifically to protect a political party, as if the political party will be there in perpetua. Political parties come and go, and governments continue. And we need laws that embodies the values of the citizens and protect the country, not a political party. And I think what we need to do is to continue using social media to educate ourselves, to communicate with the authorities and express our dismay to various institutions, seek service delivery improvement. We are not violating, we are not criminals in that regard. We are only using the voice that we were denied by our government through a propaganda machinery. And I think we should continue using the social media as always. And I've got respect from Zimbabweans as they've always been. They've been using social media responsibly. It's the misinterpretation of the government that now try to criminalize them. And I think we should refuse to be cowed by this regime. We should continue to use social media responsibly and tell them that their time is up. And it's not a criminal offense to tell them as it is. And we should continue to do the same. I think that is my closing remarks to Zimbabweans. It's a long walk to freedom, but we'll get there.
Okay, do you want to tell the viewers how you can be contacted?
Yes, you can contact me on YouTube by searching Feb there, Elliot Feb on YouTube. Various postings will be on YouTube. I also have got a blog, feb.blogspot.co.uk. So you can also access these YouTubes, the videos that we are producing, and also some interesting articles, analysis of what is happening in Zimbabwe. You can also access me on WhatsApp at February, and you can also access me on Facebook. I use my proper names, so it's not a pseudonym, Elliot February on Facebook. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I'm reachable on DereckTafuma.com and all the other social media platforms. You can access them from my website. Also on Snapchat is Dereck Tafuma. It's one platform that I want to start using more. So we'll meet you in the next talk show. We'll choose a topic which is trending, or if there are any questions concerning this one or any previous ones, we can do a video in which, or a talk show in which we're answering those questions.
And I think
we had 2 questions I haven't checked today.
I think, Dereck, we might also invite our listeners to suggest topics as well.
Yes, and also those who want to take part are also welcome. I can add you onto the talk show if you want to take part in the talk show. Maybe if it's a 1-hour talk show, we can say first 30 minutes we'll do the talking, and then we can invite people. Or you can just ask questions maybe on our Facebook. We'll keep our Facebook and our Twitter on, so that we can access any questions that you might have that you might want us to answer during the show itself. So see you in the next show. Thank you very much, and thank you, Elliot.
Thank you, Dereck.
Thank you.